In the Karakoram mountains of the Himalayas lies the world's highest battleground. Here on rock and ice, Indian soldiers brave extreme conditions to guard a glacier where the threat of war smolders. And the world's longest-running air supply operation continues. This is the story of Siachen. Ladakh. This barren land was once an important stop on the ancient Silk Route. Caravans go has the frontiers of the three nations run along the Karakoram range. China to the east and Pakistan to the west have both gone to war with India. Within this glaciated zone, about 200 kilometers north of Leh lies the Siachen Glacier, stretching 77 kilometers from 12,000 feet at its snout or end to over 18,000 feet at its highest point. This is the site of armed confrontation for over 3 decades. It is the world's highest battle zone. Siachen is the second longest glacier outside the polar region. To its west lies the Saltoro Ridge. Due north of Siachen is Indira Col, the northernmost point of India. Beyond and to the west lies Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. To the east of Siachen is the Karakoram Pass. The Indian Army is positioned on the Siachen Glacier and the Saltoro Ridge at heights of over 20,000 feet. The 14th Corps headquarters of the Indian Army soldiers arrive at its transit camp en route to Siachen. Has volunteered for a tour of Siachen. It is his first time. His training and acclimatization will begin here.
I am Major Amit Okta.
First up, a medical checkup. Serving in the unforgiving conditions at the glacier needs a high degree of fitness. Major Okta will join his unit there.
I was a volunteer to go into the Siachen. My unit is a veteran of this place. So I also wanted to have a feel with the unit to go into the same area and actually see on ground what's going on.
I'm Major Vikalp Sharma. I'm from Army Aviation Corps.
Operations at the glacier depend heavily on air support by the Army Aviation Corps. In addition to transportation and flying in supplies, search, rescue, and medical evacuation are crucial functions. Most fatalities on the glacier are because of low oxygen and extreme weather. Major Vikalp takes off in his Cheetah helicopter for an emergency casualty evacuation at a forward post beyond the glacier. He has been flying here for over a year. Lives depend on aviators like him.
Carrying out aviation operations in this area of responsibility implies flying these helicopters at the very limit of their operational envelope over treacherous terrain and in unforgiving weather.
This Hindustan Aeronautics Limited built Cheetah is specially modified for high altitude operations. The customizations allow it to carry up to 1,950 kilograms, almost double its load capacity. At Siachen, these helicopters are flown every day to the limits of their technical capabilities. At high altitudes, pilots must tackle unexpected changes in wind pattern, wind speed, and precipitation. They also need supplementary oxygen. Braving the elements, they head out to the Saltoro Ridge that flanks the Siachen Glacier. Wind speeds here can hit 200 kilometers per hour in bad weather, and landing options are limited. While the soldiers wait with their injured colleague, the helicopter is maneuvered onto a makeshift helipad. Help has arrived in time.
It is a great feeling to be able to put all the toil, hard work, and your training into action and rescue an injured soldier from a forward post.
The soldier is suffering from high altitude sickness. He needs medical attention. Fast. Within 20 minutes, they land at the Siachen base camp. Soldiers rush in to remove the casualty. Time is a crucial factor. In the emergency room, medical staff get to work. Captain Dr. Deepshika Pandey is in charge.
I'm Captain Deepshika. I'm a part of Army Medical Corps. We got the casualty from the forward post. He came with complaints with insomnia, vomiting, headache. We had given the proper medication, mannitol also given. But problem was that with oxygen, with full oxygen also, he was not improving.
Doctors realize that the casualty cannot be treated at the Siachen base camp. His condition could deteriorate quickly, and he must be flown to the army hospital in Leh. But the final decision is the base commander's.
I'm Colonel Hariharan, Base Commander, Base Camp Siachen Glacier.
Colonel Hariharan orders an immediate evacuation. It could be the difference between life and death. The cheetah takes off once more, this time headed for Leh. At Siachen, helicopters take off every 7 minutes. This would be impossible without the air traffic control in Leh.
Every day in Army aviation is a challenging one. One, because of the tough and unforgiving terrain here. And second, because of the dynamic and ever-changing weather. Firebird, report field inside.
Within 40 minutes, the casualty has been brought to Leh. Wind currents change every hour. Landing can be a challenge.
Firebird, clear plan.
Major Vikalp makes a perfect landing. From here, doctors at Leh will take over. Every day, flying missions like this one save at least 2 lives. In the Karakoram Mountains in Ladakh, a training drill is underway. An armed platoon descends a near vertical incline. They are training for Siachen. Soldiers tackle steep inclines, preparing for the world's highest battleground. Others practice storming an enemy post. Climbing up steep slopes is one thing. To do it at speed is quite another. They attack the mock post before the enemy can react. Hand grenades are lobbed and the post is captured. The inductees have passed one test. Many more remain. It is day 7 for Major Okta. He now leaves the transit camp at Leh for Siachen base camp. The journey is about 200 kilometers long. The convoy drives up the only road that connects the Army's 14 Corps to operations in Siachen. The first stop will be Khardungla at over 17,000 feet on arguably the world's highest road. Keeping it open all year round is hard work. Heavy winter snow is a challenge, as are landslides and glacial melt in the summer. Sudden cloud bursts can wash away entire hillsides. The convoy reaches Khardungla, 40 kilometers north of Leh. Major Okta is one step closer to his toughest posting yet.
Being posted to Siachen is in itself a very prestigious thing. Whenever people ask about where you have served and you include Siachen into that, then people see you with a different eye.
Once, double-humped Bactrian camels like these carried trade from China and Central Asia across this cold desert in Ladakh's Nubra Valley. Further northwest lies Turtuk, one of the last Indian villages before the frontier between India and Pakistan. The guns of war have been silent for over a decade, but there are signs of shifting boundaries between countries. The conflict over the border dates back to the partition of British India in 1947. Pakistan viewed partition as incomplete because Kashmir remained with India. In October 1947, Pakistani forces attacked India. A ceasefire was declared in 1949, with a major part of Kashmir occupied by Pakistan. Through the Shimla Agreement in 1972, the Line of Control, or LOC, was created. It defines the territory each side controls. But the issue of borders was not entirely settled. Demarcation of the LOC was up to the geographical grid point NJ 9842. The Indian interpretation is that the LOC runs to the north from NJ 9842 along the Saltoro Ridge to Indira Kol, then east to the Karakoram Pass till the border with China. The Pakistani interpretation is that the LOC travels east from NJ 9842 in a straight line to the Karakoram Pass onto the line of actual control with China. Both India and Pakistan thus lay claim to Siachen. Above the glacier, the ridge in the Saltoro mountain range rises as a natural barrier. From it, Indian troops control Siachen.
Frankly, ceding control of the Saltoro Ridge actually means ceding control over the complete Siachen Glacier, the complete Nubra Valley, and to some extent even areas to the south. It's about 1,000 square kilometers of strategically important area.
Major Okta is close to the end of his journey from Leh to Siachen. They have left the high mountains and are traveling along the Nubra Valley. His unit has already reached the base camp. Some of these men are Siachen veterans, but for the Major, it will be his first time on the glacier.
I've got the opportunity to join the unit, that too in Siachen. It feels really good. My men are perfectly made for this terrain. They know these mountains very well. They can climb anywhere, they can do any task given to them. I have to push myself a lot harder to match up to them.
On the road for 14 hours, Major Okta finally reaches Siachen base camp. His tour of duty begins here. In the shadow of the Karakoram range, at the snout of the Siachen glacier, an artillery battery prepares for a drill. Heavy guns are a force multiplier in Siachen. They shell snow-capped peaks from where the enemy could attack. This induces avalanches to sweep aside any attacking forces. The air is thin and wind speeds are high and changing. This can alter the shell's flight path. Hitting targets needs well-calculated shell trajectories and precision firing.
Here the targets are generally at very razor-sharp peaks, and therefore the effect of ammunition onto the target is limited, and therefore you require that much more ammunition to neutralize the target.
Heavy Bofors guns and other artillery guns boom away, sending a daily message to the enemy across the peaks. In the early 20th century, several British and American explorers ventured into the Siachen Glacier region. It came to be named after the wild Sia roses that grow near its snout. It was then forgotten. Decades later, it would become the highest battleground in the world. In the late 1970s, Pakistan began to encourage mountaineering expeditions into Siachen with a view to establish their claim to the region. The Indian response was swift.